here. We're doing a lockdown edition. Welcome back to GM32, the hockey podcast. I'm Vito Scaringi.
Yeah, I'm Carson Johnstone. It's a special episode for me tonight. My dad,
Yeah.
Chris Scoot, he's joining us tonight. Thanks for coming on, Dad.
Scoot, how you doing, man?
Oh, real good, beauty. I listen to all your podcasts. You guys are doing a great job. This could be a lot of fun. I'm honored to be on with you guys.
Oh,
Awesome.
We're honored to have you, man. We're honored. It's been the viewers been bugging us to get you on. We've been bugging to get you on. About time we have you.
Right on.
Hopefully we don't disappoint.
So, Dad, you got to tell us about the picture right away here. This picture on YouTube. It's going up on YouTube for everyone to see. You got to tell us about that shot.
That's crazy. That's 1983. And I was captain then. TJ Paris, the kid with the arm up. He was the co-captain. We just got off the bus. We had a bus. We had won the national championship in Lowell, Massachusetts. What a championship! Final Four. Lowell were undefeated in two Division II seasons. They hadn't lost a game, and we walked in there and knocked them off in the semifinal. Then beat Joel Otto and Bemidji State in the final. So we were drinking and carrying on all night, drinking on the bus. Got off the bus. There was the thruway, the cutoff to get to the school, and the cops, state troopers, everything was there. They escorted the bus into the school.
Wow.
Down the quad into the courtyard, and you couldn't see brick build. You couldn't see anything for people. It was just crazy. It was quite an experience. It was something I'll never forget. That's for sure.
That's awesome.
That's
cool.
Such an old time hockey story. That's. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be full of these tonight. I can feel it already.
Yeah,
it's going to be dynamite.
Yeah.
You know what, Scoot? As we start everybody off, let's kind of get you going here. Where'd you get your hockey career going? And you want to kind of run us through it a little bit?
Yeah, no problem. It's funny. Very young, my dad, the family he raised, he cut from Scotland. He wasn't really a hockey guy, but ended up loving hockey because the family, when they come into Canada, came into the Burlington, Toronto area and just introduced us to hockey. I was very young. I can remember starting so young that you couldn't get into organized hockey in Niagara Falls, but St. Catharines, I would think I was 6 years old. St. Catharines had a Vic Teal hockey school. And most of us at that age, you couldn't play in Niagara Falls because you had to be 7 or 8 years old, went to this hockey school and just started it up. And from there on, it was, when we were done and old enough, into the system in Niagara Falls, and just played Niagara Falls minor hockey all the way up.
Yeah. Honestly, I always kind of wanted to ask you, Dad, because we've never really had that conversation. I never really asked how specifically you kind of got into hockey, right? Like, I always knew you played and everything, but I never really knew because, obviously, I don't think Grandpa played, right?
No, he never played. Grandpa was he was a gymnast and a swimmer, actually, from Scotland. But he loved hockey. They all loved hockey when they come over here from Scotland. But I had an unfortunate accident when I was a kid and was burned when I was 4 years old. And the doctors told my dad and Grandma that you better keep this kid active, keep him busy and stuff. And hockey, anything I could have done, they put me in. Obviously, hockey was a passion. Loved hockey. But the relatives, all my great uncles and all, we're all passionate hockey guys. So it was just surrounded by it and Thorold and everything. And funny part was they used to quiz me as a young kid because I was so into hockey. I knew the original six, and obviously. So we're talking 64, 65. So I'd have been just after my accent being burned. They quizzed me all the time. We'd have family invites, family functions, and just quizzed me on who was number 14 on the Chicago Blackhawks, who was number 27 on New York Rangers. And I knew every player in the league. Like, they were stunned. They couldn't believe it. They throw names out, and I knew it just following hockey. And apparently my first words ever, even though I'm a big Leaf fan, my dad says the first words ever out of my mouth was Bobby Hull. Bobby Hull. Simple name to say. I running around the house going, Bobby Hull, Bobby Hull. And my Uncle David was a big Hawk fan. So he thought he was going to stump me one night. And he says, okay, I got one because Chicago had a call up. I'm 5 years old. And he says, Chris, who's number 16 for the Chicago Blackhawks? And I looked at him and I said, Eric Nestorenko. Well, he almost dropped on the floor. He couldn't believe it. But that's how much hockey was a part of our life back then. I never missed a game, missed anything. As a young kid, I can remember it was just something, hockey night in Canada, and watch hockey in our house every Saturday night.
It's awesome.
That's unbelievable. What a story. So after you finished playing your minor hockey, did you go right to RIT, or did you play a little bit of junior going first?
Yeah, it's a funny story, because I listened to a lot of your podcasts about kids and stuff and never quit on the game. Yep. I had a really bad, tough experience, not bad, something you grow from. I was cut in my draft year, and back then, I played AAA all the way up. And back then, Major Midget was your draft year.
Okay.
Young. So I played, and I won't mention any names here, but this coach, first time ever in my life, I was cut from AAA, and it's the draft year, and I'm like, Thing being, though, I was a December birth date, December 27th, where you essentially lose a year in hockey, and I was a little guy. I was a small guy, skate like hell, but I was tiny. And this guy cut me, first time ever, and I can remember going home, throwing all my gear in the trees and carrying on in the front yard. My dad was working afternoons, so my mom couldn't control me, and all the equipment's hanging in the tree. So my father got home after work, hands on the hips, and what the hell's this? My mom had told him what had happened. So in typical fashion, as parents were back then, he looks at me and says, "Hey, idiot, get the stuff out of the tree." He wasn't like, "Oh, poor Chrissy got cut. Get the stuff out of the tree and let's move on here." So it was hard for me then. And I got to tell you, I ended up playing junior B hockey after I played juvenile house league. Yeah, I played juvenile house league, and then at Notre Dame, the high school, I made the high school team as the youngest guy in the team, which was kind of neat. Older guys, the core brothers, and some really good hockey. And we won SASA that year with the high school team in Notre Dame. So I stayed with it amidst of all the disappointment and being cut in my draft year and everything. So I tried out for the Canucks for a couple of years, went to Fort Erie when Ralphie Bymont was there, got cut from there. And all those teams back then, though, guys, they were big, strong teams.
Men.
Like, I'm telling you. And I was the smallest guy on the ice every night. And man, oh man, it was hard. I finally broke through. And my last 2 years of junior as a 19 and 20-year-old, finally made the Niagara Falls Canucks. Vito, you always speak highly of them, and I will as well. They were
gotta love the Canucks. Yep.
Old Russ Masterson was there. Tim and Terry they weren't there anymore. Too old, not playing, but they were working.
Okay.
They weren't affiliated with the club yet. But and that was the first 2 years. You guys won't remember, but they got away from their colors. We still had the Beaver and the Canuck on the thing, but we went to Boston Bruin colors for 2 years.
Come on.
The 2 years that I played, we wore Bruin colors. And I had Al Boone, Don McLean as a coach the first year. And then Dougie Jarrett, God rest his soul. Chicago Blackhawk, New York Ranger, the Jarrett family in the Falls, well-known, great people. Dougie was my coach the second year, made me captain. And I had 2 great years as a Niagara Falls Canuck. It was fantastic. And from there, I got lucky and got a chance to go to RIT.
That's awesome. So
that's beautiful.
You said you got lucky, Dad, but there's one specific night that Brian Mason came to see you, right?
Yeah.
So Brian Mason was your coach at RIT, and he came to recruit you guys, right? And how did that all happen? Just for guys, just to know what it was like back then, getting recruited.
Yeah, it's funny because you had to be in the know. Whoever knew, and Al Boone. Then we had a good hockey team. We had Marty Dahlman on that Canuck team. Ricky Marocci, some nice players. Marty was getting. Rensselaer RPI was all over him. There were some colleges around, and I can remember we had a Christmas dinner at the Casadoro, and Booner was talking to Marty and Ricky and all these kids about opportunity, and I was sitting there going, I said to Al, God rest his soul, Al's passed since, but I said, Al, what about any chance for the rest of us? He says, well, Scooter, I didn't really know you were interested. And I said, well, obviously I'm interested. You're promoting all these guys and stuff. I'd like to have a chance to be promoted as well. And turns out, good friends of mine, because I went to Notre Dame, a lot of my hockey life come out of Welland as well, a great hockey town. And my best friend Dave Burkholder and Jimmy LaRouche were in Welland and already at RIT. and they sent Mason down to specifically watch me. And as I say lucky, I mean, I had a very good year, but the night he's there, we're playing the Dundas Blues, who were in our loop back then. And I had a 6-point night. I had 3 goals, 3 assists. We won 8-2 or 8-3 or something. And Mason was in the crowd, and he didn't even stay to talk to me after. I guess he left, and then he got home and he called Berkey and he says, "Make sure you get hold of that Johnstone kid because he's going to come to RIT." And the rest is the rest. It was just wonderful. It was man, oh man, what a next 4 years of my life was unbelievable.
Yeah, you know what? Let's not waste any time, Stu. Let's dive right into that. How was RIT in those 4 years for you? Got any good stories? Any hockey stories?
Oh,
Showing up as a freshman.
Yeah. You know, it was funny because I just took things for what they were. I don't want to say I'm just a humble guy. I just want to play hockey. Nothing meant anything to me. I just wanted an opportunity. And I'll never forget getting to RIT. And it was the first or second night at school. And, you know, the boys were showing me the ropes. Because Berkey and Jimmy were there the year before me. So they're showing me all the fraternities and all the parties to go to and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting escorted around and going to these parties. And every party I went to, people are staring at me. And which I thought, okay, yeah, new kid in the block, right? I'm with Berkey and Jimmy. And then finally someone come up to me and says, "You're Chris Johnstone." I'm like, yeah. You're Chris Johnstone. I'm like, yeah, well, you're the new recruit. And I said, yeah, I'm hoping to play a team. So apparently my reputation kind of succeeded me there. Preceded
yeah.
me. They just wanted to know all about me because I guess Berkey, the boys were talking a good game about me. So I thought, wow, this is interesting.
Had some shoes to fill.
Yeah, as things went, the first year was the first year that we were able to play in the playoffs because the year before they were on a probationary year because they just had changed from being a club team and getting in Division II. So my first year was the second year where they were competitive and could play in any playoffs, whether it be New York State, Eastern Conference, or the national championships. And we had a surprising year. Very good. We made the playoffs. Almost got beat out by Norwich 2-1. What a hockey game that was. Jesus. But we were very competitive. It was a great first year. I was Rookie of the Year and ECAC All-Star of the Year and all kinds of good stuff and led the team in scoring in the conference in scoring, and which was unbelievable to me, really, because I was just going to go and play my ass off and have an opportunity because I worked hard to have an opportunity. You know, I look back at being cut and playing juvenile house league, but still getting an opportunity. And to me, and I'd like to put this out to anybody who wants to play this beautiful game, don't matter what level you're at. If you have a chance to play your ass off and enjoy, get everything you can out of it. And I didn't think of anything except wanting to be competitive and win and be the best I could be. And turns out honestly, guys, I never looked at statistics. I never whatever. I just wanted to play. I just wanted to love the game and love my teammates. And it was a fantastic experience for me. The first year we almost made the ECAC playoffs. And then the next year we make the playoffs, and what a night we play in Oswego State for the New York State Championship. Dave Lair, Kevin Flynn, they're loaded. Bunch of Niagara Falls guys with Oswego. And Oswego was one of the schools recruiting me as well. And Brockport State, E.J. McGuire, great man, one of Roger Nielsen's best buddies, passed away since. He coached the Ottawa Senators and all. Good people I got to know along the way. And every game to me was like the last game I was ever going to play. I just wanted to compete and play and win. And that second year, that game against Oswego, the RIT, we were packed. You couldn't have put another person. The fire marshal, I guess the fire marshals were trying to get people out of the building and all. And we ended up beating them bad for like 10. It was kind of bad. Again, I had a phenomenal night, 4 goals, 2 assists. It was just unbelievable. when I think back at those things and some of those successes, I was blessed. We had a great, hardworking team, but that was a great year. So we went on from there, and we win the national championship that year. And through some adversity, we got beat out, actually, and had an at-large bid. We got beat up by Middlebury State, a smaller college, played at home, and I think we got caught up reading our press clippings and stuff and didn't have our best game, and were beat. But the committee gave us an at-large bid, which was great. We're still in the playoffs, so we moved on, and Final Four, beat Lowell, win the first national championship in the school's history. Was terrific. That was my second year there. Third year, go ahead, Vito.
Sorry, yeah, it's good. I kind of wanted to dive in. We always kind of ask our guests about like how their mental state is, or how they mentally get through the upcoming from minor hockey to junior and whatnot. And from your story, I want to get your intake on what did you do, or what did you mentally think to push yourself through getting cut and then striving to make the Canucks and then ultimately becoming a stud at RIT.
Yeah, the thing was, Vito, it meant so much for me to try and play junior B, for me just to play for the Niagara Falls Canucks, because at the time the Niagara Falls Flyers, the major A team was there, right? And the Canucks were we were always, as you know, the history, they're just a big deal, and just to push myself to be able to play a shift for that team, never mind 2 years, was everything to me, with everything I had been through. And get that opportunity and play for that team was just phenomenal. And the crowds and the opportunity. And back then, every team, Welland, St. Catharines, Fort Erie, everybody was good. There were no soft touches. Like, every game was I remember going to the old Fort Erie. It was the old Central Arena. It's tore down now. You couldn't have put another ass in the seats. Packed.
Wow.
Packed. And but those were great times, and I just wanted to have that experience. It pushed me through, because it was disappointing I wasn't drafted. And hey, let's face it, there's a lot of great hockey to play. I knew I was going to be a National Hockey Leaguer. I was 5'8" on my best day, 140 pounds on my heaviest day. So I was real about it all, but I wanted to play. I wanted to try to be the best wherever I played, just push myself. And that just got me through it all. So it didn't matter where I was going or what opportunity. I was happy and very blessed with the opportunity, and was just going to make sure I was going to waste it. I was going to push myself to be the best I could.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys won your second year there. You won your national championship. Then the third year, tell us about that. So this will be your second year as a captain, right? Because you were a sophomore captain at RIT.
Yeah, that was another tough go, Carson. I'm glad you asked that, because Jimmy LaRouche, I love Jimmy. He's my insurance agent now, but Jimmy got himself a little bit of off ice trouble, and he just was such a great hockey player, but he was just too aloof off the ice, and Coach Mason had kicked him off the team, and that was a tough practice. And then after practice, Mason called me in the office. Now I'm a sophomore, and we're like 2 weeks into the season. And Mason says, "Scooter, I want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Okay, Coach." I didn't know what to expect. He says, Jimmy's been kicked off the team, blah. I says, "Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate. Going to miss him, blah, blah, blah." He said, "I'd like you to be the captain of the hockey team." It floored me. I was like, holy crap. But I was obviously excited as hell for it, honored. But the tough part about it was all the friendships that Jimmy had made, and our best friend, Davey Burkholder, Jimmy's best friend too. How was he going to react to it? That was on my mind as much as I was excited. Because I know when I get out of this office, Berkey's going to say, "Hey, Scoot, what was that about?" Because Berkey and I were roommates. And I said, well, I walked out, and he says, "Scoot, what's going on?" And I said, well, Coach asked me to be captain. And it was disappointing, because Berkey's first reaction, he wasn't really happy for me, but I get it. There was mixed emotions, because we just lost one of our best friends that got kicked off the team. And now I've been asked to replace his leadership, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it was a bit uncomfortable at first, but it turned out being great. I was a very young captain as a sophomore, in the next 3 years, captain of that team, which again, quite an honor that I took very seriously. I mean, I think that's part of me anyway with my passion. I just, if you want me to show the way, I'm going to try to show the way. I know no other way. So it was an honor, and we moved on from there as captain of that team, and to win the Nationals that year was incredible. First year's being captain, and that Lowell team we beat. They're from Lowell, Massachusetts. They were Division II. They had not lost. They were going Division I the next year. They hadn't lost a Division II game in 2 years. They were like unbeatable. They were beat. We were all, because we all had Division I games at the start of our schedule, and Lowell, I think, had won, I think, 7 of 8 games against some pretty big Division I teams, Clarkson, St. Lawrence, Colgate. So they were good. And we played them at Christmas before we got to the Final Four. That first year we won the Nationals, and we lost 5-3 empty netter. And we thought, you know what? We're not that far off. We played these guys pretty tough. So it gave us a little bit of confidence. But that's the spirit and the thing about NCAA hockey, because when you're in these one-game knockouts, anything can happen. Just be good on that day, baby. Yeah. And we were good when we beat them, and that was their first loss in 2 years. It was phenomenal. I'll never forget Coach Mason running around. So we get up in the morning, and there's we're staying in New Hampshire at the turkey farm, New Hampshire turkey farm, and not a newspaper around. Not a newspaper around. We beat Lowell. Any corner store we went to, the lot, anywhere. Our Coach Mason, got up that morning and made sure he got all the newspapers so we couldn't read our press clippings. Yeah. Because we still had the finals to play against Bemidji State. So that was something to remember. It was a real good time for sure.
Yeah. So tell us about year 3. Yeah. You went to the finals.
We hosted it.
You hosted
it because you won?
Yeah, we had a great year, and the committee said, all right, T, you're hosting it. And we were the number 1 seed. So here we are, my third year. So here we go. We're hosting it. Let's have at her. And then we played the longest college game in college history. We played Union College, and I never had disappointing Berkey and I, a lot of the guys that we, to this day, I mean, here we are 60 years old, and we relived these moments, and we did not have our best game. I threw it into McDougall's, their goaltender, Ian McDougall. I threw it in his chest about 4 times. Just couldn't. We let them hang around. And we were the better hockey club, but Mason had shortened the bench. We were going 3 lines, and a lot of us were starting to cramp up and stuff. And he gave the 4th line a shift in the 4th overtime. And I remember Bobby Charles sitting beside me. He's like, "Oh, Scooter, I don't know about this." We're on the bench, and I said, I don't. And I'll never forget BJ Hall pinching down the boards, and I'm yelling, "Not now, BJ!" And Gil Egan chipped it past him, and it was just in front of our bench. He crossed our blue line, let a desperation slapper go, because he was their best player. He was a great hockey player, but he was just throwing it on net because we were all so bagged and the game was going on for so long. And it went off Tommy Herstad's stick and knuckleballed over Berkey's shoulder. Bang. We lose. So then we played in the consolation game the next night, which I didn't really give a shit about. But that was heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking to lose that game at home. Yeah. Because as much as we were a surprise in my second year when we won our first championship, this was as disappointing because we were the favorite that year. We were the favorite to win. And that's hockey, man. Play the game. Yeah. We just didn't get it done that night.
Mm-hmm. So Mason was still coaching that year, your third year. Mm-hmm. Now, your fourth year, you guys get a new coach. Mason is gone, but you guys won another championship. Am I correct?
Yes, you are. We have Bruce Delventhal.
Come on.
And away we went again. And it's funny when I look back and Carson, thanks. Like this is a great evening for me just to think back at these things because it's incredible the run we had. Like it's incredible how successful our team was, and yeah, we were, and Coach Delventhal was quite different than Coach Mason. And I got a good Mason story for you. That Oswego game I was telling you about, We played them the next year in a New York State final, and I'm on the ice late in that game. And this is my third year. This is before we got beat by Union. We were in the New York State Championship, and I got the puck on about 5 feet on our side of center ice. And I played the old goofy, selfish, I'll throw this in the empty net, and game over. I missed the net. Icing with about 28 seconds, 30 seconds left in the game. So Mason calls a timeout. And I'm thinking, oh boy. So team gathers around the bench. So we're all standing there. And Mace doesn't even look at another player. He is staring at me like the daggers are out. And I'm looking. So I'm just standing there, and he goes, Scooter. Yeah, coach. And he's staring at me. He says, pardon my language here, guys, you lose this fucking face-off, and I'm sending you home. That was our timeout. So I went out and won the face-off. But anyway, that set up our top ranking in the nation and whatever, and then we lost the Union. But man, oh man, it was so intense. Mason was so intense. Now Delvin Thal was not that intense. He was much quieter and stuff, and he, it was hard for a lot of us. It was our senior year now, so a lot of the seniors, and I know through all my coaching experiences now, you never want to disrespect the coach. He is the coach and all, but it was a tough year, and I didn't agree with a lot of things he was doing, and it was almost like he wanted to do things differently just because. He wanted to prove that he could do it and change what Brian Mason had done. Meanwhile, my point was, leave it alone. Like, we're here. It's the same club. Like, you've added some of your recruits, but we've been through it. Let us go. And him and I knocked heads a few times, not disrespectfully. I mean, as captain of the team, I would have some meetings with them and whatever, but he just wouldn't buckle. He just was very, very, very stubborn. And we really kind of limped into the finish. We never had a good finish that year. And finally we're playing, I can't recall the team we're playing. And Tommy Hurstad, one of my teammates, tells the story wonderfully. And I'm not proud of it, but it came to a breaking point. We were losing to a team we shouldn't have been losing to. We're trying to qualify for the New York State playoffs. And he came in and he bumbled and bimbled and bambled along and whatever, and he left the room. When he left the room, I got up and I slammed the door and didn't have too many complimentary things to say, which to this day I regret somewhat, because you never want to talk about your coach like that. But I looked around at the seniors in the room and us, and I said, look, we've been here. We know what we need to do. Get this effing done. Like, that's enough of this stuff this year, because we were good, we weren't good, and we were sitting on the fence. And I said, that's it. Get this done. We've been here. Get it done. And it just lit the team up. We just, from there on, we were... You're
either in or you're in the way.
Yeah, we were just unbelievable. We qualified and we moved on and won our second national championship in 3 years. So we won the first one, lost in 4 overtimes in the second one, and then won the third one. So it was quite an experience. It was a lot of good, hard championship hockey, which I'm very grateful for.
That's awesome, Dad. Awesome. Great stories.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Scoot, where'd that take you from there? Did you get ready to coach it after RIT? Or did
I did actually, Vito, because I stayed at RIT another year. I had a couple more courses to take to finish up my schooling and that, and because I had to transfer in the middle of my education. So I had a couple courses to take still, so they kept me on as the story would go. It's phenomenal, Vito. Now I'm one of the assistant coaches at RIT. So I stayed at school. I couldn't play because my eligibility was up, so I coached. And what do you think happens that year? We're in the Final Four again. We're playing for the Nationals again.
Jesus Christ!
But the Mitchie is hosting it, and that was a heartbreaker. We lost in double overtime in that one. But that's a lot of. I think that molded me as a coach and as a competitor.
4 trips to the Nationals.
To have that much success, but knowing what you have to go through to have this success, I think molded me to be as competitive and passionate I am. I mean, I love the game of hockey. Can you imagine having loved the game so much and having experienced those 4 years? It really was incredible. It really was.
Yeah. So from there, Dad, those 4 years, I mean, now you're 20, what, 24, 25, finishing college?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're 24, 25, and you start coaching junior hockey. You're not the OHL yet, but where'd you start? You started in Thorold, did you not?
No, St. Catharines Falcons.
St. Catharines, okay.
You started in St. Catharines.
Okay, so tell us about that.
1986. I turned down a couple offers to play. I think because I got into the coaching, and truth be known, coaching has always been a big part of my life. Even before I could drive a car, I can remember my mom, because I coached house league hockey as a 14, 15-year-old. I coached minor baseball. My mom would drive us to the parks because we weren't driving. So I always coached. But that year after I coached at RIT, I had some opportunities to go to Germany or England to play in some European leagues. And because I was just so into coaching at the time, I figured, no, I'm going to stay and I'm going to coach. I'm going to get into coaching now. Because at the end of the day, maybe there's some regrets because I still wanted to play, but this still fed my hunger for the game to be able to coach. And I think I was more suited for that than at that time, because playing, it was hard. It was hard for me to play in upper, some other levels and all. I mean, I had some success, but I would never quit on it. But coaching was comfortable to me. And
you think part of it too is that you'd sat out a year and coached, so it was like, okay, the transition is obviously easier to go right to coaching than back to playing.
Yeah, for sure, Carson. That definitely was it. It was much easier just coaching instead of ramp up and play again. But so Dave Burkholder and I, Berkey was at home now, because he had graduated before I did, a year before, and we thought, geez, the St. Catharines Falcon head coaching position was up. Why don't we apply for it? Like, what the hell? We're just removed out of college. You never know. Well, what do you know? Teddy Foto, Roger Flett, the St. Catharines boys hired us as co-coaches in 1986 to coach the Falcons. Awesome. We had Jason Minch, Jason Salt. We had a nice hockey team. We were young coaches, and it was their first year where they brought in imports and things like that. But we had a competitive year. I think we finished in third place. We got beat out by Port Colborne, who were a real strong team back then. And but that started the coaching stuff. The junior hockey coaching stuff was that year in St. Catharines.
That's awesome.
I think it was 1986.
86. So from there with the Falcons, you guys have a good year, competitive year. Now, after that, was it, because you've coached pretty much since then. You've never really been out of it.
Yeah.
So from there, where'd you go? Like, let's go through it a little bit. Just your journey through coaching, because I know you've been with almost every team in this loop around here, but for the rest of us, let's hear the whole path.
Yeah. So from there, this was a terrific. St. Catharines was going to move on, and it got Berkey and I were gone, and Bob Bishop took the team over in that, and I could, he offered me an assistant coaching job there, whatever. But Lou Savona who owned the Thorold Blackhawks, had called me and asked if I wanted to help Doug Favell. And Dougie Favell is an old National Hockey League goaltender from Jordan. Played for the Leafs, played for Philadelphia. Bernie Perrant's partner in net. Dougie was a hell of a guy.
That's awesome.
And I thought, that'd be cool to coach and learn from Dougie Favell, an NHLer.
For sure.
And I went and assisted Dougie the next year. And after that year with Dougie, Dougie moved on, and Louis hired me to coach Thorold for the next 2 years. So then I was the head coach of Thorold Blackhawks. And those 2 years as a hockey coach, when I look back at all the teams I coached, man, oh man, that team was unbelievable. They were such a hard-working bunch and a crazy bunch of buggers too. But man, oh man, there's some stories there, boy. That team was nuts. I invited them. The worst thing I did was invite them to my wedding when I was married.
Yeah.
I was performing at my wedding too. They almost ruined my wedding, but it was a great time.
I think one of the coolest things about just growing up, I guess, for me, just to tell a little story, I guess, for the listeners, you coached with Todd Clayton in Wheatfield, and I think a little bit in Welland, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, Todd was around and coached with you. And I remember you telling stories about, with Terry McNeil, like, and back then playing against Todd Clayton in Welland. And we always talk about this league around here, how it just, the guys stay around and stuff like that. But it's cool that, even you coached against Todd, and then he grew, got older and was coaching with you and everything. It's just cool how this league like recycles and gives back, right? It's awesome.
That's the beauty of this league and the beauty of your podcast and the beauty of listening to all these players talk that have been a part of most of their lives. It's just such a close-knit group. And so everybody knows everybody. You're familiar with everybody. Your enemies, but your buddies. And that's the beauty of this league. And just to, Todd, I coached, well, that's another story. Poor Todd and Terry McNeil, that Thorold team. They hadn't won a playoff game in their history, and I was coaching with my brother Greg in Thorold, and this was the year after coaching with Doug Favell. So we're playing the Welland. They were called the Aero Stars then. They left their sponsorship with the Cougars, the Far Mercury Cougars, and they affiliated with another company, Ford dealership, and they were called the Aero Stars. Anyway, long story short, before the game, this is game one. And we're hosting it in Thorold. We had a nice year, so we had home ice. And Greg and I walked in the room before, and the boys were pretty stoic, pretty quiet, because we had a lively group, like Terry McNeil, Dave Carricker, Dwayne Rolison was our goaltender. Rolly had a great NHL career.
Yeah.
What a guy. That's another story. Oh, my God, what a kid he was. Actually, probably my favorite guy I ever coached. But the room was weird. So Greg and I walked out. So we go to the canteen. I don't know if you guys remember Thorold. Vito, you remember Thorold. You both played there. Yeah. When you go to that canteen, your back's to the rink.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Greg, I'm getting the coffee. Greg's getting the tea. We're having a hot dog, whatever. And all of a sudden we hear all this noise. And Greg was saying that dressing was a little bit weird, wasn't it? I said, yeah. And back then, you just went on for warm-ups. There were no referees on the ice or nothing. The team just went on for warm-ups. Well, we turn around, and there's a full-scale 40-player brawl going on. Absolute brawl. And I guess Dave Carricker, Terry McNeil, and Andrew Conti, oh, what a kid. They had planned to take out a couple of their guys during warm-up and set the tone for the series. And poor Todd Clayton was a recipient of a Andrew Conti sucker punch and dropped him and put him out for the series. And it just set the way. So we ended up sweeping Welland 4 straight, which was crazy. But our team just went bananas after that. They were so confident and full of themselves. It was nuts. It was just old-time hockey, almost slap shot like. It was crazy.
Beautiful war stories. I love them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Dad, so then, you're coaching back then with Thorold and that. So what gave you that opportunity in the OHL? Because you made that jump. You coached a lot of guys. You coached Big Joe. We're going to talk about that. Joe Thornton.
Getting into it for sure.
He's playing for the Leafs right now. But, tell us what kind of propelled you into the OHL? How did that happen?
Well, that's a funny story because all the coaching going on all night, and I obviously married your mom. This was 90.
Mom.
90. We're on our honeymoon, and I said to Cheryl, I said, I think we'll get home, and I had an opportunity to interview for a company in out of Baltimore, Maryland, to go to Schenectady, New York, and interview for a company in the field that I studied in school. And I thought, I think I'm going to go to this interview where the hockey's been good to me. I think it's just time to move on. So here I was, 29, turning 30. We were married in May. I was going to be 30 in December. So, I had thought I had made that decision. So I get home, and Carson will appreciate this. Mm-hmm. Grandpa Johnstone, I get to the house, and Grandpa Johnstone looks at me, and he says, what's this I'm hearing you're going to be coaching the Thunder or helping the Thunder? I said, what are you talking about? I just got back from my honeymoon. But Vito, you'll like these stories. Your dad will know it. The old Bond Villa. The Bond Villa on the lane, that was everybody went there for their beers or, it was a pub, and all the rumors would come out of the Bonnie, and anybody who was anybody could shoot the shit about hockey and all. And I guess my father had heard that George Burnett, who then was head coach of the Thunder, had been watching our Thorold team play, and that he really liked some of the things we were doing, and that he wanted to talk to me about maybe getting involved with the Thunder. So my father knew that before I even got home from my honeymoon. So when I got home from the honeymoon, my father says this, and then Frank Gurney had called me because he was running a sports apparel shop back then or whatever. And he was supplying George with some stuff because George was a golf pro at Brock Golfland then. It was a job he had to help him while he was here coaching the Thunder. And Frank said, "No, it's true, Scooter." He said, "George is going to be calling you." And I'm like, "Oh, well, okay, whatever." Sure enough, George called me next day after I got back from the honeymoon. George called. He says, "Chris, I'd like to sit down and talk to you." And the rest is the rest. I assisted him for a couple of years, and then my OHL career started.
Yeah, well, why don't you dive in? That's unreal. Why don't you dive into that a little bit, Scoot? So you end up assistant coach for what, year and a half?
Yeah, a couple years.
Year and a half, and then you got to become the head coach, and then you coached them for a few years until moving to Erie, correct?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, that is very correct. That was a tough time.
And I know, Carson, I'm going to throw you on the spot here a little bit. You've told me this story before.
Let's do it.
It's a dynamite story. Let's. How did Erie get the Otters' name, bud?
Did you hear it, Dad? He's asking you.
I thought he was asking you.
No. He's asking you because I've told the story. I've told the story.
Yeah, that was a competition to name the club, and my wife Cheryl submitted Erie Otters, and I go to a board of directors meeting about a week later after all these entries or submissions, and my buddy pulls out a cartoon drawing. One of the guys at the meeting says, "This is where we think we're going," and I thought it said Oilers, but it looked like a cartoon character of a creature or whatever. And I looked carefully, and it was an otter. And I saw Otters. It wasn't Oilers. And I'm like, wow. And they had a competition I get for season tickets and whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I said to the gentleman, now I know, because I know my wife put that name in there. And I said, "So how many entries were there for that name?" He said, "Only one." And I'm like, well, that was my wife. And they started laughing. I said, "So donate the season tickets to someone else if you're picking that name." But yeah, so they took Otters. So my wife named that OHL hockey club.
Yeah.
Just funny story.
That's amazing.
And someone else got free season tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, but honestly, I vaguely remember that. Because I was around. I was small. I was just a baby then, but I do vaguely remember. I actually, one story I have about being in Erie, it was Halloween and I choked on a butterscotch Werther's candy.
Jesus, scared the shit out of me.
Dude, that's my only memory I have from being in Erie, which is funny, but that's how young I was, just one of those experiences.